Good afternoon, and welcome to Beer Tasting with the Old Growler. I'm Pete LaFrance, the Old Growler, welcoming you to another tasting that we have here. Today is Friday, the 17th of July, 2020, and we have just finished our fourth month of a sort of shelter in place, I do believe they call it, although they have let up a little bit here in Brooklyn, New York, so that we can sit outside at our favorite restaurants and be able to meet people and see people once again. So things are looking up, but we have to wear a mask outside, that's for sure, especially when we're in areas where the social distancing is impossible. So for those of you who are out there, stay safe and wear a mask. I'd appreciate it because I don't want to lose any of the people who watch the Old Growler. All right. Well, the reason that I'm here, of course, is because of the fact that the bars, taverns, etc., were closed down totally for a while. And it became a little difficult to do any beer tastings. But not anymore. I can guarantee you that. Okay, well, my qualifications for tasting beer. If you're new and you haven't seen any of these channels yet, let me show you. A few years ago, I published or had John Wiley published my book, Beer Basics. This one is a quick and easy guide. It is still available online. And if you're interested in getting a copy, put a note down in the comments box and I'll get back to you. Oh, and I've also got Cooking and Eating with Beer, which is also one of the books that I spent a little time working on and learning about beer tasting. That's the truth. Now, most of the beer tastings that we've done recently, before we had our little pandemic, were held at the Henry Street Ale House in Brooklyn Heights. One of the best beer bars that you can find in Brooklyn Heights, and I guarantee you that. What we do is we'd get together on Thursdays, the bartender and manager, Jerry Scott, Jim Bennett, and I. And there was always at least one or two other people because it was a fairly popular place for people coming off of the Brooklyn Bridge. It was just about, I'd say 500 or 600 yards from the end of the Brooklyn Bridge. So you beat that, can you, for refreshment after a long walk? All right, well, we would have tastings there. It was called Meeting Expectations. And sample beers that were sent to me by the breweries or some that I picked up on my own. We would take a look at the label. We would decide what it was supposed to be and what they were trying to sell us. And then we would crack it open and see if it met expectations. Pretty much like this. Here's one we've tried recently. And if I can find the link, I will put it in the comments box below. This is from, we'd look at it, we say from Squatters, which is an interesting name, of craft beers. And they are from Utah. So that makes it even more interesting. And sent to me, so I'd explain that. And this one is called Brilliant Beer, B-I-E-R, an attempt to be German. And of course, it says a German-style Pilsner. And that's exactly what it says on here since 1989. So they've been around a while. And then they say, it's here, it's a beer, need we say more? And there's a little bit of a chat about it. And then it tells me that it is in Salt Lake City, 5% alcohol by volume. And let's see if it tells me any bittering units on here. No, it doesn't. So I have to guess. So my guess would be that it would be a light-colored beer. It would be fairly light in body. It would be a crisp beer with not too many aromatic hops. Well, take a look in the link down below, and you'll see what it actually tasted like. Today we have an interesting beer. And this one right here comes to me from the New Belgium Brewing Company. And they were kind enough to send a sample to me. And it says here, it's a New Belgian 1985 IPA. It's a Voodoo Ranger. That's what it's called. It's called the Voodoo Ranger 1985 IPA. And as you can see by the illustration on there, it's got a kind of an evil-looking fella there, a skull. It's wearing a older hat, and he's got the shades on and the leather jacket and the good stuff. And so I'm wondering to myself, boy, what are they trying to do? Well, let's take a look at it and see what it says. It's a 12-ounce can. We got that. 6.7% alcohol by volume. That's a little high. Not too much, though. And it says that it is an India Pale Ale with mango flavor and spice. Mango flavor and spice. See the bottom for enjoy by date. So it says enjoy by 22 November 2020. And since this was just sent to me by the folks at New Belgium, I'm gonna assume it was probably canned within the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so. Let's see, they are brewed and canned by New Belgium Brewing Company, Fort Collins, Colorado, and Asheville, North Carolina. Let's see, it's got the government warning on here that if I'm pregnant, I shouldn't drink this beer. If I was pregnant, I probably wouldn't drink this beer, but well, that would be even stranger. Anyways, that's all we really have to go on. So, what are we expecting? An IPA. Okay, that's an India Pale Ale, and it has mango flavor and spice. Okay, so that's kind of a Caribbean flavor. I'm thinking about. I've tried mango beers before, and guava beers and others. So this will have some kind of a special fruity type of flavor to it. It should be a clear beer, although one never knows these days with an IPA. So we're expecting a relatively high alcohol, relatively hoppy beer with some spice and mango. So I'm going to be using this style glass, a wine glass. We always use a wine glass because that way it keeps all the beers on an even playing field. Certain glasses are for certain beers. You have to see the regular pint glass. Well, that's for a pint of ale. Ale has a lot of aromatics to it, and so you need a wide mouth for it. A Pilsner glass is tall and thin, so that it shows off the clear and beautiful beer and the bubbles. So let's crack this one open and see if it meets expectations. Okay, there we go. Now let's get a healthy distance from the, here we are. Pour that out. Oh, it's a hazy beer. I tell you, everybody just loves doing hazy beers, and I don't know why. I think maybe because they've taken the filtration system out of all the breweries. But Peter, don't be mean. Okay. Well, okay. It's, this is what it looks like. And it's got a fairly good head, which means it's got, enough malt in there to have enough of the maltodextrins, which are the sugars, and the non-fermentables, so that it causes a nice head. That's what we're looking for. So that's a good thing. Oh, there definitely is a mango aroma to this. Very little hops, just mango aroma. In the second nosedive, just to make sure. Well, all right. Well, let's give let's see what it tastes like. The first swig. Well, there's a lot of mango in there. That's for sure. And it's kind of refreshing. Yes. This has been in the fridge for a little while and for a long time, actually. And I took it out only about 15, 20 minutes ago. So it's probably a little bit chilled, a little bit too chilled, probably for a good beer. But for a refreshing beer like this, I don't know. Oh, Tom, good to see you. Greetings from Atlanta. 101 in the shade there. Well, it's relatively nice here. It's only about, I believe, 80 maybe so far. We got a heat wave coming up, though, the next 2 or 3 days. So we'll be joining you in not quite the hundreds, I don't think, but we're going to be getting into the 90s, which is exactly what this type of beer is designed for. So after tasting it and after reading the can, does Voodoo Ranger 1985 IPA meet expectations? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. In fact, very nicely it meets expectations, especially a summertime beer. And It looks like a summertime beer, that's for sure. Now, doing a little research, and I will admit that that's the way. Well, let me just finish off by I'm holding this beer here. I'm going to have another flavor test. Oh yeah, that's a very refreshing beer, and it meets expectations for sure. And I'm the Old Growler, hoping all of your beers meet expectations. Oh, not bad. This might be an empty can sample on this one. Yep. Well, I'll admit, as I said a little earlier, I did a little research on what the Voodoo Ranger 1985 is, and there's a electronic game, direct auto or some kind of violent type of game, and apparently the Voodoo Ranger is a take on a 1960, I believe it was a Chevy. They had four tail lights, and they've adapted it to two, and so it's one of those low rider cars that was associated in particular with the gangs of Los Angeles. So why I don't know, but hey, what the heck? It's an interesting backstory, and for all of the information, it will be down in the comments box. Believe me. Okay. Once again, can't complain about that one. What will we be looking for next week? Well, next week, for those of you who tune in, and for those of you who have enjoyed the tasting today, please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to leave a comment down there, because I'd certainly appreciate it, knowing what types of beers you would be interested in me tasting and how I would be tasting. Now, the how is pretty interesting, because next week we're going to try on Monday or Tuesday, or I'm sorry, Monday or Friday of next week, which means the next two live tastings. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of cans of beer, the same style, but different breweries, definitely. And I'm going to wrap them in white paper and put them in the refrigerator. And attached to each one of them will be a cheat sheet explaining what that brewery says that beer is. And next Friday, oh no, I can't. Okay, we're going to have to move it ahead a little bit, because next Friday is going to be a presentation day, because I will be not here. So stay tuned. In fact, hit the alarm bell down there, that little alert bell. That way you won't miss any of the tastings, and you won't miss the one where it's going to be a secret tasting. I'm going to test my taste buds, because what I'll do is I'll crack it open, I'll pour it in this glass, and I'll taste it, and I'll give my opinion. What is it, and what style of beer? And I might even make a guess as to what the brewery is. And then open up the envelope and see what it actually is. I tell you, I'm putting myself out on a limb with that one, but perfectly glad to do it. So, for those of you who are new, also, I'd like to suggest that you look at the other playlists that we have, particularly at the Old Ale House, at the Henry Street Ale House, tastings at the Henry Street Ale House. Take a look at that listings, those playlists, and you can see how we did our meeting expectations in the past. And for those of you who are interested in what the Old Growler has been doing over the last 3 or 4 months, well, you can take a look at the playlist called A Pandemic Diary. And there are 63 of the presentations that we did. So it kind of takes you through what's been happening for the last 3 months. And if you're interested in that, I'd really appreciate you stopping by, giving a thumbs up as well. All right. Well, this has been a tasting with the Old Growler. I certainly appreciate everyone who has showed up today, and I appreciate all of you who have showed up later and taken a look at what it's like to have a tasting of beer with the Old Growler. Have a good day. Give a thumbs up, share, and don't forget to subscribe if you're not a subscriber. That way you, again, won't miss any of our presentations. Until the next time, I'm the Old Growler, hoping all of your beers meet expectations.